Hi guys, welcome back to the I Will Get Lean podcast. Last week I had a discovery call and the client asked me a very interesting question that totally stumped me. It was, hey Tanvi, what can I do to accelerate my fat loss? I need to lose weight ASAP or I will miss my chance of freezing my eggs. And she wanted to opt for a 3-receptor antagonist Retatrutide. So this is my client Anusha, and she had seen Retatrutide pop up several times on her Instagram feed. You know, the before after photos, everyone's saying, wow, I lost like 30 pounds. This is amazing. I didn't have to diet. I could eat whatever I wanted. I never felt hungry. You know what literally blew my mind in that moment? She talked about the phase 3 clinical trials being out and that people have lost 71 pounds by taking up Retatrutide. So naturally, she was like, okay, Tanvi, I'm sure this is gonna work. Tell me why I shouldn't do it. I completely understood why she was asking me this because there is so much proof out there on social media that this peptide works. You're going to be like, okay, I want it because this is exactly the kind of transformation I want for my body. Like, it is so enticing. And so I can understand why this specific medication is almost like magic. And if I were in her shoes, I would have probably opted for it had I not known better. Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I actually knew very little about Retatrutide. So when Anusha asked me this question, with the context of I want to freeze my eggs, is this going to help me? I was like, hang on a sec. Let me look deeply into this. So see, semaglutide is not new. Ozempic has been here for a while, and you've seen the success that it's brought. Now, Ozempic is a single receptor agonist. Forget about the science for a second. What I really need you to know is that when you take Ozempic, it activates GLP-1, which is the hormone that tells your brain that you're full and slows down digestion. So essentially, if you used to get hungry 10 times a day, with GLP-1, with Ozempic, you probably feel hungry 4 times a day. So it was originally prescribed as a diabetes-only drug, but the side effect is weight loss. Because obviously, if your hunger is suppressed, you're not going to eat much. And that's how Ozempic became this go-to thing for everybody who had tried the holistic method of losing weight, couldn't control their portions, and they're like, okay, cool, I'm going to now just take this drug so that I just don't feel hungry. They thought they were fixing the root cause. A few months later came in Mounjaro. Mounjaro is a double receptor agonist. It hits 2 different hormones, GLP-1 and GIP. GIP is the one that improves your insulin sensitivity, which is why Mounjaro actually produces more weight loss. Think of it as Ozempic's powerful new sibling. And then finally, we have the recent superstar, Retatrutide. It is a triple receptor agonist, which means it activates 3 different receptors to do 3 different things in your body. That is GLP-1, so it stops telling your brain that you're hungry, slows digestion. GIP improves your insulin sensitivity. And number 3 is glucagon, which tells your liver to burn fat directly. Nobody has targeted all 3 at once. And that's why the weight loss numbers are nothing like we've ever seen with Ozempic or Mounjaro. So everyone's talking about Retatrutide because the phase 2 clinical trials showed 24% of body fat loss. And phase 3 have shown up to 71 pounds. Now see, these are not small numbers, okay? And for someone like Anusha, who is over 200 pounds, losing this much weight just by taking a drug, it's almost like a fever dream. It would be a literal game changer in how she looks, how she feels. But see, here's the thing, okay? These numbers are showing up only in clinical trials under controlled environments where everything is being monitored, including what the patients are eating, how much are they working out, what are they doing. This is not a real-world picture. Now think about it. With PCOS and insulin resistance, your hormones are already out of whack. When you take a GLP-1, what's going to happen to your body? You are suppressing the natural rhythm of hunger within your body. The food noise dies, you eat less, you see loss on the scale. But are you really improving those hormones which were out of whack? Are you improving your actual condition, the actual root cause that is causing the facial hair and the overweight and the hair loss? You're not. You're simply putting Band-Aid on it for an extended period of time just to see a loss on the scale. See, the drug genuinely works for weight loss, and I'm not going to say it doesn't. But the context is severely missing because these trials were not done on women with PCOS or hormonal imbalances. And we really don't know what would be the long-term effect of taking a triple receptor agonist like Retatrutide for a hormonal system that's already been compromised. So now you understand why Reta is having its big moment, why everyone is talking about it, but it's still an incomplete conversation. I think just like any other trendy shortcut, social media is selling you a transformation. And why are they doing this? For engagement, for likes and views. But you know what's missing from these viral reels? Context. What happens before, during, and after taking this peptide is simply not talked about. Because think about it, right? Like, obviously you've got 10 seconds to process a reel. You're probably scrolling Instagram between work or, like when you're just like eating something. So you are not really using your brain power into wondering, okay, is this even possible? Is this even right for me? Is this even healthy for me? You're just like, wow, she went from this size to this size. I'm at this size and I want to go to this size. Okay, cool. I'm going to try Retatrutide. And, obviously these algorithms, they are meant to feed you the same information that you like and enjoy. So if you watch one reel on Reta transformation, you're going to get 3 more rolled out to you. What does that do to you? It influences your mind immediately to believe that all the clean eating or the lifestyle habits that you've been doing to lose all the weight, simply not worth it. Like, why would one go and spend hours working out when you could just take this drug? So social media, especially Instagram, it paints this big picture that you can achieve this transformation without any kind of hard work. And that's unfortunately just a highlight reel. You know the 71-pound number that was recently released in the phase 3 clinical trials? Guess what the context is? This amount of loss happened in a clinical trial conducted over 68 weeks. That's about a year and a half. But did the reel talk about that? Did anyone look deeply enough to understand how long did it take the person to go and lose the 71 pounds? What was the environment? How was it monitored and administered? What was the person actually eating and feeling and doing during that time? Nope. That context is totally lost in a 10-second reel. What is happening inside to your metabolism, your hormones, your natural rhythm of getting regular periods? What's the impact of Reta on cortisol, on progesterone, on estrogen? And there are literally no clinical studies done on PCOS cases when Reta was taken because Retatrutide is so new. It's just promising a number on the scale, and I get it. That's why it's so attractive and fancy. Because we've been conditioned to think that if you hit a certain number on the scale, you're automatically healthy. Also, do you know that Retatrutide is not even FDA approved? So what women are actually accessing outside the clinical trials is not even the same drug. You see how sinister this whole thing is turning out to be? Now let me tell you one more thing that will totally blow your mind. No one talks about what happens after those transformation photos. You know the concept of survivorship bias, where you only see those who survived and actually transformed after taking Reta. You don't see those who actually dealt with complications and failed after taking Reta. Because why would that be converted to a transformation reel? Why would that even go out on social media, right? It's not fun. Everyone wants to get views and likes. So think about that. Have you ever come across a case where someone lost their period completely after Reta? Or that their PCOS symptoms worsened? Or their metabolism further slowed down, even though they lost 10 kilos on the scale and they see it on the scale, but their hunger just never came back naturally? What happens once you stop taking Reta? Like, what is the recovery protocol for that? No one's talking about that. That's why Anusha and probably you are thinking about opting into these peptides simply because you want to survive and you want to be the person who gets the transformation from it. Now, the studies on the GLP-1 drugs, which are already in the market, like Ozempic, Mounjaro, what they tell us is that once you stop the drug, most of the patients regain 2/3 of the weight. So let's say that you lost 21 kilos with the GLP-1. Once you stop it, within a year, the likelihood of you regaining 14 kilos is very high. Simply because when you lost those 21 kilos, you probably did not instill good lifestyle habits. Secondly, you lost one of your most precious tissues in the body, which actually regulates your BMR and helps you maintain the fat loss. Your muscle, like I'm sure you've heard of the Ozempic face and people feeling super weak after they take semaglutide, which is essentially a GLP-1. And there are virtually no robust studies that have been published that have looked at menstrual health in women, specifically before and after GLP-1. This is such a new topic that research has simply not caught up. The silence itself is an answer. If you have PCOS, you've been fighting it pretty much all your life since puberty. You've been always worried about your period, acne, the weight gain, the hair loss, and, constantly worrying about the perception of your own body as well as how others look at it. You are quite literally the most vulnerable to this narrative because of the amount of battles that you're fighting constantly, right, on a daily basis versus the rewards or the relief that this specific drug claims to provide. So when you see something this magical, right, you're almost like, I think this is it. Like, this is the solution I've been waiting for. Like, the universe has finally given me something to ease my pain. Like, I don't need to work that hard anymore. And see, I honestly feel you. A few years ago, I was in the same state where the struggle of losing weight naturally was so hard with insulin resistance that I would have grabbed an opportunity like this with both my hands. But that's actually the point. As enticing as Reta looks on paper, there isn't enough evidence for it to show positive effects for cases where there are already deep hormonal imbalances present. The last thing that you want to see is see the loss on the scale, but actually feel like crap inside. Like your hormones are in a much worse condition than they were when you started and you were overweight. The thing is that, the hormonal balance is so delicate that once you mess with it by including these additional drugs on top, the chances of it going back to an original better state, kind of far removed, right? And one can infer a lot of this from evidence. I'm going to talk about hunger because a lot of PCOS women, even Anusha, complained about constantly feeling hungry. And she's like, at least Tanvi, taking Reta will stop my hunger, right? If my hunger stops, then I will obviously not eat. And we all know calorie deficit and yada, yada, yada. So let me talk about that. When you look at PCOS hunger symptoms, it's mainly because of your leptin resistance. So that is a hormonal imbalance that you have because of PCOS. Now, unless you actually fix your leptin resistance by improving your insulin function, it's not going to go away. When you take Reta, you're suppressing your hunger signals while you're on the drug. What happens once you get off of it? And the willpower issue correlated with hunger, like, Tanvi, if I am stressed, then I would eat, and then Reta would take it away. Not really. The hunger in PCOS is not a willpower issue. As we all know, it is related to your leptin resistance, which is a hormonal issue. Reta only solves the problem at a surface level. It does not address the deeper root cause, which led to the leptin resistance in the first place. So you're not managing your PCOS by any means by taking Reta. The second point I want to bring up is body image and perception. Especially for Anusha, someone with PCOS who's always been overweight all her life. She wanted to get lean and look good. It was always her dream. And Reta was giving her a path to do that. So she severely struggled with how she looked and she thought that losing the weight through Reta would give her that. But see, here's the thing. Once you lose the weight with Reta, you are not magically going to feel body positive or super happy about your body unless and until you address the psychological barriers, the mindset around your body image. And What also happens is, in order for you to maintain the weight loss, the significant weight loss, 71 pounds that you got with Reta, you need to be hyper careful, especially with PCOS, once you stop the drug. And since she was going to go in for egg freezing regardless, she would not be able to take it at that time. So she had to stop it at some point. So when I met Anusha for the first time on the discovery call, right, she came to me with a super open mind. She was like, I need help, Tanvi. I know I need help. I've tried a lot. I've tried many programs. I don't know why nothing is working for me. Anusha was sitting at 221 pounds with polycystic ovarian syndrome since she was 18. And the root cause of her PCOS was insulin resistance. She was 37 years old, because of which she wanted to freeze her eggs and wanted to become a mother soon. But Anusha's struggles were actually multidimensional. Her biggest battles were emotionally rooted. She struggled a lot with nighttime cravings, stress-related cravings, reactions to incidents which made her crave food. Food was essentially her coping mechanism. Sweets, chocolates, cakes, candy, fried snacks, you name it, and she would just run towards it every time something minor broke in her life. And because she had been battling PCOS since she was 18, she had developed this sort of fatigue around dealing with PCOS. So she just wanted an out. Like, I don't care, get me out of this. Tanvi, Reta's gonna help me get out of this. So during her journey with us, she was on the verge of losing her job. She had long, exhausting working hours. There was some mild marital distress in her personal relationships, which further added another layer of stress. So because of these out-of-control challenges, there was a lot of poor emotional recovery and unmanaged stress that pushed her to the brink of choosing an out like Reta. Now, a little bit more about Anusha, right? Because you might resonate with this. Anusha is the kind of person who is very clear-headed, mature, reasonable. She has been through life enough to develop the emotional maturity of realizing that you need to problem-solve situations. She had tried everything under the sun through patient, hard work to solve this naturally. She wanted to solve her PCOS as naturally as she could, but it hadn't worked out for her so far. But what was really gnawing at her is that this could be the solution to her 19-year battle with PCOS. So, when you've been overweight all your life, you literally crave a win. Like, losing those 5 kilos is pretty much all you want, because you're like, I just want to fit into a size smaller than I'm currently wearing. Like, I want to prove to myself that I can do this, that it's possible for me. And that degree of desire not being met for such a long time, layering on with more work stress, job stress, personal stress, the lid just pops and you're like, I don't care. Just give me the peptide. So as I was compiling these notes, replaying the conversation in my mind, I can see why Anusha wanted to go for it. And I'm sure you can too. And this is exactly why coaching became so important for Anusha, because emotional decisions often don't let us see the long-term implications of choosing a shortcut. And the main goal of managing PCOS, which has been published in several research papers, is completely masked by this before-after journey that Reta proves. During her journey with us, we identified that Anusha also had a few mindset blockers. The biggest one was the all or nothing mindset, where if there were a few days in a week where she did really well, say Monday to Wednesday, she was doing really well, and then something happened on Thursday at work that broke her routine, she would completely spiral into guilt and go way off plan. Go out and binge eat for the next 2 days, and then again it would take her twice as long to get back on track. This had developed because she was so frustrated and fed up of dealing with this condition. Just like any other high performer, Anusha was a manager at her work, and so she expected nothing but perfection from herself. This further looped into her all or nothing thinking. Like, if I'm going to do it on Monday, I'm going to start on Monday. I need my meals prepped. I need to get my workouts in this week, all of them. I need to hit all my steps. And if I don't do that, I'm not good enough. So there's no point of me doing this fitness journey. So this was one of the loops that kept feeding into her guilt eating, emotional eating, which we really needed to break. And I'm going to tell you exactly how we broke it. So we planned Anusha's journey in 2 separate phases. And in both phases, we had a specific North Star goal. Anusha's whole POV on her fitness journey was overtly sensitive and outcome oriented. For example, if she had worked X amount during the week on her fitness journey and she was like doing everything right, she's like, I must see end result on the scale. Now, we all know that PCOS management doesn't look like that because we first need to work with the hormones and get the body to feel safe again. And then the second battle was the fact that if something broke in her routine, like if someone came in, there was like sort of a blip of extra pressure at work, or someone said something to her, she would just spiral out into this emotional eating pattern, which was very hard for us to pull her out of from. So in phase 1, our North Star goal for Anusha was not rapid fat loss. It was to make her body feel safe again. We wanted to bring her inflammatory load down and also teach her some real stress management techniques that went beyond, just go take a walk or meditate for 10 minutes. Only once her body feels safe again, right, we saw a reduction in her hormonal parameters, we saw her hunger calm down, we saw digestion improve, and the scale started just dropping weight like this naturally. You might be wondering, why did we just not dive directly into a calorie deficit with her? Well, because she was already in such an underfed and stressed state because of the chronic dieting, that even if we pushed her into a deficit, the results simply would not be this good. So phase 1, which was about 6 to 7 weeks long, we split her goals into 2 buckets. First was hormonal improvements. We wanted to stabilize her blood sugar, reduce her glucose fluctuations, improve her insulin sensitivity, reduce inflammation, bloating, fatigue, and also boost her satiety signaling, right? Like work on her leptin resistance so that she could feel satisfied from the meals that she was eating. So this would reduce some of the bottomless hunger that she was feeling. And the second bucket that we wanted to fix were nutrition-specific improvements, like especially around her, stopping her restrict binge cycle, reducing her nighttime cravings, her cravings for something sugary constantly, and helping her have more meal consistency during the week, So she's not skipping meals randomly, overeating on some days, undereating on some days. To achieve both of these goals, we had to update 3 different pillars iteratively. So we had her workouts, nutrition, and her habits. So on the workout side, she was hitting it really hard, 6 days in a week on some days, couple of times in a week on some other days. So we decided to even all of this out. We took out HIIT and excessive cardio completely. We told her to do some more home workouts instead of going to the gym because she was not being able to be consistent because of her recovery, because of her slow recovery. So we replaced it with some low impact home workouts, very short, 30 to 40 minutes, something that was suited to her own fitness levels. The reason we avoided HIIT was because her cortisol levels were already very high. We needed her body to get stronger in stamina and in recovery capacity. The goal was progressively overloading the workout so gradually that Anusha barely felt it. But her body adapted every single week and got stronger. The low impact workouts at home, right, they actually promoted a nervous system friendly environment, which her intense gym training and group classes were not able to do, as they focused more on excessive calorie burn. On the nutrition side, we included more protein-rich meals. Previously, she was hitting around 50 to 60 grams of protein because she had no idea how to incorporate more protein into her diet. So we introduced more protein powder-based options like protein pancakes, protein muffins in the morning, more eggs, essentially all the meals that she enjoyed. The meal plans were designed to be hormone-friendly first, and they were built directly off her blood work. We implemented controlled carbohydrate timing, which means that she was eating carbs before and after her workout more so than randomly throughout the day. This helped her reduce her glucose fluctuations and directly improved her insulin sensitivity. Protein was distributed throughout the day, something that we called as protein pacing. This helped her a lot with not overloading her digestive system. Nothing was really cut out. She was eating wheat, rice, she was eating her South Indian meals. Everything was included, but more so in controlled portions and in a way that really supported her hormones. So she never felt like she was starving or deprived of anything. And also, we included convenience meals for her and an emergency contingency plan as well, especially on days when she didn't have meal prep ready. So this happened once where she had no meal prep for 2 days straight, and then she went and had this custom chipotle bowl that we designed for her, with controlled rice, controlled beans, veggies, no sour cream. And that really helped her understand that, okay, she can eat healthy outside as well. This took a lot of stress off of her. Nobody had ever given her that permission before. And for supplements, we had the standard protocol of turmeric, CoQ10, omega-3s, vitamin D3, K2, again, all built on top of her existing blood reports. For the third pillar of habits, we had to reframe her thinking completely from perfectionism to just consistency. I kept telling her that instead of being 100% on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then being 20% on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I want you to be 70% all the 5 days of the week. There's no need to be a perfect role model on a few days at all. The body does not understand that degree of intensity. It responds to daily stimulus. Remember, getting it done is better than getting it done perfectly. We also taught her some meal prepping strategies because she had these blockers around eating stale food and wondering if that was going to hurt her health. But in actuality, meal prep was one of the easiest ways for her to show up consistently for her body. The recipes were super simple, just 5 to 6 ingredients, nothing fancy, no need for complex 20 ingredient recipes at all. This severely reduced the cooking load on her, and she was able to prep all her meals for the week just within a few hours every Sunday. During this phase 1, we also helped her identify her own stress rhythms throughout the week. For example, she knew that every Thursday and Friday, she felt like this massive stress-related craving because there was just too much going on work on those days. So being aware of those things and having contingency meals, backup meals prepared for days like that changed the game for her. She never felt like she had to scramble last minute because that scramble was actually promoting all of the restrict binge cycles. And you know what? The biggest takeaway from phase 1 was that we never really had to work on her sleep directly. Her sleep actually fell magically into place because we fixed her workouts, her nutrition, and her habits. So she often would tell us that I just hit the bed and within 10 minutes I'm off. I really don't need any supplements or I don't need any scrolling or anything to put me to sleep. And that was amazing because this reduced her recovery load. So she started recovering a lot faster and was able to show up for workouts more regularly. So by the end of phase 2, one of the biggest shifts I saw was the way she showed up to the calls. She had a lot more energy, her jawline started showing up. The fat beneath her ears had started receding, leading to more open neck and clavicle. We started noticing that there was a lot more optimism in the way that she was thinking. So because Anusha was such a high performer, she started self-solving her problems. She's like, okay, if I could do this, then I can do this. And then I can do that. And it was amazing to see her go from what she was on week 1 to where she was at week 6. By the end of phase 1, Anusha had lost about 9 pounds naturally with PCOS, insulin resistance, high stress, high pressure. It was amazing. But something happened around this time where her manager at work told her that she would likely lose her job. And that set her back a few steps because she went into this deep stress loop where she started questioning everything. And then there was this additional pressure of egg freezing, which was going to happen 8 weeks from now. She already had an appointment ready and was going to enter that phase. So in her mind, it was like, I've got these 2 additional stressors. For us, we wanted to double down on things that worked in phase 1 for her so that we could actually get her to the egg freezing state in the healthiest metabolic state possible. So our goals for Anusha during phase 2 was continue improving her muscle tissue, continue improving her insulin sensitivity, prepare her body and her reproductive hormonal environment, particularly estrogen, progesterone, FSH-LH ratio, AMH levels, for the egg freezing. So do everything that we can through nutrition, workouts, and habits so that her eggs are the healthiest that they've ever been before she enters into egg freezing. So on the workout front, we included a little bit more cardio because that tended to make her more happier. And because her cortisol levels had now slowly come down, she was able to also survive those sessions without overloading her nervous system too much. We asked her to go back to the gym, so she wanted to lift those heavy weights and, push herself more, so we let her do that. She started thinking of gym as her happy place now because that really helped her disconnect from all of that was going on in her personal and professional life. To simplify life further for her, we gave her both home and gym options so that she could pick and choose wherever she wanted to work out depending on how she was feeling that day. And this, I think, was the biggest game changer for her because she didn't have to take that pressure that, okay, I need to drive 20 minutes to the gym back and forth, but instead I can just get my workout done at home. Apart from her blood markers, we noticed improvement at the gym on her Garmin stats. We noticed that her HRV levels had improved, her resting heart rate had dropped by a few beats. We noticed that her recovery rate was much faster, and she was able to lift heavy on almost all the lifts. Her upper body strength, chest strength, leg press, everything had improved over the last 7 weeks. She also started doing more ab work and reported looking leaner in her photos. And we're like, yep, that's exactly what we want. And look at you, killing it, even despite all of these additional stressors which life keeps throwing at you. On the nutritional side, we kept her meals staple from phase 1 because she liked some of them. Then we just gave her a few more options. Taught her a new recipe every week or two, depending on what degree of cognitive load she was facing that week. So we stepped up her micronutrient focus to prepare her body for egg freezing. We included iron, omega-3, magnesium, folate-rich foods, fertility-supportive whole foods, and anti-inflammatory combinations. We included a lot of bell peppers, zucchini, bok choy, veggies that she would usually never eat, but we brought them in for that additional concentrated micronutrient focus. We also improved her protein quality. So initially, she was having protein powder 7 days a week. We reduced that to just 3 times in a week, and we added more whole food sources of protein so she could further get more fiber and micronutrients from there. On the habits front, she had learned to improve her bounce back rate. So if she missed a couple of days of workouts or habits, she didn't need that long to get back on track. And that was a game changer for her. I think it was the momentum of everything that was happening for her. Like, she was seeing improvements on all fronts. Mentally, physically, emotionally, from a stress POV, lifting heavier, getting compliments, seeing the loss in the scale. It all sort of fed into this cycle of self-improvement and becoming better. So by the end of phase 2, Anusha was preparing her body to go for a fertility treatment. And I want to take a pause here because egg freezing demands a lot from your body and no one really talks about this. So egg freezing is not just a procedure, it's a metabolic event. Your body is being stimulated to produce several eggs at the same time. This puts a significant demand on your hormonal system. It adds to your inflammatory load if you already have inflammation in the body, and it depletes your nutrient reserves. So if your body is still in a stressed, inflamed, insulin-resistant state, then you're not giving your eggs the best environment they can be to be produced in. This is going to impact your egg quality, which is going to impact your fertility procedure. This is exactly why we focus so much on including magnesium and folate and all of the micronutrients. Because did you know, folate supports the cell division, which helps you get the large number of eggs. Iron supports the oxygenation of your follicles. And omega-3 helps reduce the inflammatory environment that gets produced when you're, pumping your body with those hormones to stimulate the egg production. And this is also why Retatrutide would have been the wrong call, especially as she was entering into the egg freezing cycle. So women planning fertility treatment are typically asked to stop taking GLP-1 before they enter into that cycle. So had she taken Reta, She would have entered the egg freezing cycle with suppressed appetite, with depleted nutrient reserves, with poor hormone signaling because of her PCOS, much lower muscle tissue, and hence very high inflammatory load, causing a poor quality of eggs by the end of the cycle. What the holistic method did for her was it gave her body a more metabolically stable environment, nutritionally prepared and hormonally more stable. The fat loss was just a byproduct. The real win was that she walked into that clinic with a body that was built to do this. Just around the time of her fertility treatment, we noticed that Anusha's social eating had also significantly gone up because she was just so stressed from the procedure that was about to happen. This is completely understandable, right? Because egg freezing is not just a physically demanding process, it's also very emotionally draining. And we were always there to hold space for her for that. In 2.5 months, Anusha went from 221 pounds to 205 pounds. All naturally, all holistically, just by working out, eating, and functioning differently. But the number on the scale is the least interesting part of the story. Her visceral fat dropped from 19 to 15. And because of this reduction in visceral fat, the inflammatory load in her body reduced, which significantly contributed to better egg health and egg quality. Her workout consistency improved because her mindset improved. Her cravings were under her control and they were not controlling her anymore. Her bloating went down, inflammation down, insulin became better, liver enzymes normalized. So I'm going to take you through her blood markers one by one. Her insulin resistance improved significantly because her fasting insulin reduced in 2.5 months. Her pancreas was producing significantly more insulin when she started, and that dropped. So her C-peptide levels also improved. Her HbA1c levels were 6.1 when she started, and it dropped to 5.6 by the end of 2.5 months. She was moving away from the pre-diabetic range. She saw significant improvement in her metabolic fat markers. Triglycerides reduced, the HDL, which is the protective fat, that increased. Her inflammation, the HSCRP marker, which is the most chronic inflammatory marker, dropped significantly because her PCOS condition improved. Her liver stress also reduced significantly, as we can see in the ALT levels. This matters because liver is the center of hormone metabolism. So this is what 2.5 months of teaching your body to regulate hormones naturally looks like. This is not about a number on the scale. It's actually a representation of how different can a body look like inside. But I want you to notice this for a minute, right? Despite having PCOS, insulin resistance, so much inflammation, stress, so many personal life factors affecting everything that could have stalled her journey, her body still responded. Once you make your body feel safe and give it the right conditions to respond, it will change. No shortcuts, just the right conditions. And also because now Anusha understood the impact that stress creates on her body, she started managing how she perceived her stress. So a work meeting no longer affected her that much as it would have before because she had developed a degree of self-awareness. Having an unbothered, nonchalant attitude to small things in life, which would usually make her binge on a big piece of cake. This shift in self-awareness, right? No injection can introduce this. This is lived experience that you just have to go through. It's like you have to solve this problem by going through it. What I want you to take away from this is that many people think that metabolic markers, right, like all of these levels that I talked about, they improve just like that within like a couple of weeks. It actually takes a lot longer. And because of Anusha's dedication and adherence to problem solving, her mental clarity in general, it helped her get so much momentum. It takes quite some time for the body to reach this state of safety where you are rebuilding your metabolic health. The number on the scale can go down fast, right, if you take a shortcut. But that does not mean you're hormonally and metabolically healthy. And it definitely does not mean that you're more prepared for egg freezing. the metabolic improvement, it happened in layers. First, your glucose variability and energy levels improve. The glucose fluctuations reduce. Then your insulin burden reduces. So your insulin resistance actually starts improving. You're shifting away from prediabetes into healthy insulin function. And then following that, you see improvements in inflammation, your liver parameters, which is the center of your hormonal metabolism. And you cannot rush these layers, but you can definitely build them. And as you can see, in 2.5 months, this was Anusha's transformation. And I wanted to give you this real possibility that focusing on your nutrition, workouts, habits, lifestyle can also bring about such a huge difference in your overall health, number on scale, how you look. You do not need to resort to GLP-1 or Retatrutide to see a transformation. You can actually bring about these changes just by modifying little bits of your lifestyle. It is really possible. Anusha is the proof. I did this episode because I wanted to give you the full picture, not the 10-second Instagram reel variation of a before-after of Anusha, because that just does not justify all the ups and downs that she went through and that you are probably going through as well in your fitness journey. So if you're someone who has PCOS or any other hormonal imbalance and you're trying to prepare your body for egg freezing, please do not get influenced by these quick transformation reels that show you that what GLP-1 can do. There is a lot more to your lab work that you need to look into, which the GLP-1 conveniently ignores. Retatrutide may have a role in medicine one day. I'm not saying it never will, but right now, it's not approved. It's not tested on women like you, and the version circulating is not the version from the trials. The risk to reward calculation for hormonal sensitive women simply does not add up here. What does add up is what Anusha did. Messy, imperfect, natural, holistic. Real work on her actual biological root cause. And she walked into her egg freezing cycle 16 pounds lighter, with better functioning insulin, lower inflammation, more nutrient reserves than she ever had before, with a body better prepared to produce the highest quality eggs. And that's what I want for you. Not a number on the scale, but a body that actually does what it was built for. In the next episode, I'm going to go deeper into what are the workout and nutritional strategies for women who want to prepare their body for egg freezing without worsening your stress or tanking your hormonal health and without losing the muscle you need. Stay tuned and I'll see you in the next one.